Orleans Game Developers Education Summit. If you don't know who we are, we're the NOGD, or the New Orleans Game Developers, nonprofit centered in New Orleans, but we are accessible through the interwebs. We do cool things like hosting a monthly meetup, in addition to other fun events like show and tell and game jams. I'm Chris Morrison, your host for tonight's Education Summit. I'm joined by Curtis Cummings and Ben Walker, my colleagues from NOGD. If you enjoy what's going on this evening, feel free to join our Discord. The NOGD talks about making games, what it takes to make games, how fun it is, and various educational events and fun game making events. So we're joined by leaders of the video game education in our fair state of Louisiana. I'll get to them in a sec. The first thing I'm going to do is drop a couple housekeeping items here. First of all, we've got the Global Game Jam, which is going on in January from the 20th to the 30th. NOGD is going to be kicking off our in-person and online hybrid events on January 21st. You can find info on that on our website, our Discord, anywhere where the internet exists. And you can also register online at the Global Game Jam site. One of our colleagues from Louisiana State University mentioned that they're going to be handling the flip side of the Global Game Jam on the second weekend. It's a 2-week event, so I'll let Mark speak to that when he gets a moment. Also, I wanted to talk about the GoFundMe that's going on for Sea Cave and one of their employees, Ray. If you haven't seen the news stories, they suffered a bit of an accident setback over the last couple of weeks. And you can find that GoFundMe again on our Discord. I believe it's on our Facebook account as well. So check that out and feel free to give to a good cause. So the format for tonight is we're going to go through and introduce each one of the presenters and the educational institutions they're from. And then we'll go through the presentations, and I've got an order here. So when the presenters are presenting, please hold your questions until the end, or you can put them in chat, and what we'll do is we'll go through them and we'll present them to the presenters. So we'll kick off some introductions here, starting with, in no particular order, Operation Spark, John Fravoni.
Hi, everybody.
Maybe just a bit of introduction of who you are?
Yeah, you can hear me okay?
Sound good?
Good. I'm John. I'm the CEO and founder of Operation Spark. We are a nonprofit code school here in New Orleans, and we have two areas of study, one for high schoolers, for juniors and seniors, and then we have a workforce program for adults that focuses on software development, and it's a short program that helps people get the skills together to join a team as a junior software developer. In our high school program, we have a similar track. It's just over a 2-year period, and juniors and seniors can come study with us in after-school programming or during the day. We have some embedded stuff going on like that. And the programs are focused on software development in general, client-server type patterns. And then in our high school program, we also have some elective type courses, IoT being one, Internet of Things, and then video game programming is another one. And I guess we'll talk about that tonight a little bit.
Right on. Thank you, John. Also, from Academy of Interactive Entertainment, we have Donald Vermillion.
Hi, I'm Donald Grimion. I'm from AIE, or Academy of Interactive Entertainment. I am the game art and animation instructor here at the school. We're a two-year technical college focused on game art, VFX, game programming overall, trying to get students prepared to enter the industry after they complete their coursework. So,
Right on. Thanks, Donald. Next up, we've got Delgado Community College, Claude Richard.
Hi guys, I'm Claude Richard. I'm from, again, Delgado Community College. I'm an instructor there. Last time I was here, I was an advisor, but now I'm an instructor. Yay. And I instruct for the Cloud Computing and Computer Information Technology program, which has concentration areas in web design, programming, information security, and the reason we're here, game design. So, hi.
Thanks, Claude. Our colleague from Loyola University, New Orleans, Daniela Marks.
Hi, I'm Daniela Marks. I'm the Associate Director of the School of Communication Design and the Chair of the Design Department at Loyola. And I'm excited to share the Loyola design with you soon.
Sweet, thanks, Daniela. From Louisiana State University, Mark Obenell.
Hi, my name's Mark Obenell. I've been making games for about 42 years. So I started when I was 14. First computer system I made a game on was the Timex Sinclair. So these were 8-bit, really basic computers, no graphics cards, all text-based games, all coded in assembly, no higher level languages, no art packages, everything completely done through scripts. And I made work professionally in the games industry, worked on over 50 titles, including FIFA Soccer, Need for Speed Underground, Def Jam Vendetta, Triple A Baseball, John Madden Football. So a whole bunch of titles, and have been teaching since 2008. I joined Louisiana State University in 2013 and have been running the Digital Media Arts and Engineering Master's Degree program and helping with the minor. Since 2013.
Right on. Thanks, Mark. And last but not least, University of New Orleans, Ben Samuel.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ben Samuel. I'm an assistant professor in the computer science department at UNO. And yeah, I'll tell you more than you ever wanted to know about myself, UNO, and our game dev program in my presentation. I'll greedily covet my time and apply it to that.
Sounds good, Ben. We look forward to it. All right. So in that order, folks, let's kick off our presentation, starting with John.
With me?
Yep.
Okay, great. Well, so we have a program. I'll just talk about the course we run for high schoolers, and maybe I'll share my screen in a minute if I have permission to do that. So our program is developed. There were a bunch of constraints we were trying to work with for the high school track. We are mostly working in the JavaScript world in our high school program and in our adult workforce program. And so in developing a course, we wanted to stay within the language that our students had already mastered already. And so we have two sort of pre-qualifying programs, a introductory course and then an advanced course. And so our video game programming class is, you have to do those two courses first, the introductory class and then the advanced class, so that once you get to the video game programming class, the student already has a pretty decent grasp of the language of JavaScript and all of its idiosyncrasies and traits and so on. And so we wanted to build out a little framework or a little course that introduced students to the very fundamental concepts in animation programming, and then in some of the just basic concepts around building games and prototyping little games and things like that. So if I can share my screen, let's see, can I? No, I guess I can't. But
Oh, one sec. Curtis, can he? Okay.
Well, um, in our course, the students learn about how to program a game loop, how to ride the refresh rate of the screen in the browser to create a game loop, and then be able to program animation. And then we have a number of exercises that go along illustrating these concepts, starting with the moving objects around, drawing objects, moving objects around, all the way up to making object, how to detect the collision of objects on the screen, and how to react to the collision of objects. So they build out a little micro physics engine for themselves, including all of the mechanics involved in that, and all the way up to things like springing, the idea of how you want objects when they collide, how they will respond to each other and move away from each other. And they start to understand that you can program all of these behaviors. And I think by building a little system on their own, and understanding how to actually code these elements, they truly get into the nuts and bolts of how animation works in a programming environment, and how creative it is to be able to actually code the physics of this little world and it's its whole environment. And so we focus on in this program, in this course, on 2D gaming and just simple vector art, like what I call programmer art, and not we're in this course, we're not focusing on sort of using a studio like Unity or the Unreal suite, for building out 2D or 3D games. So we're really coding everything from the ground up, and I think it's a very good fundamental, provides a very fundamental understanding of how animation is programmed and how you can build out your own little games and things like that. So, and then there's some other, once we get into more advanced stuff, we're covering things like how to structure applications, how you might use things like an event dispatcher, how you might modularize your game so that you can isolate your feature and sort of drop it into the game and pull it out of the game, as you wish, type of thing. And so the design of a game and a wider application is also sort of touched upon. So at this stage of where the students are at in their level of programming, they have some, some programming chops. And so these things are these wider concepts of how a game is developed or how an application is developed and how objects and systems communicate with each other. This is coming onto the horizon for them in this program. And so I did bring some games and some code to show off, but if we can solve the screen sharing thing, I can maybe do that later. So I think for us, we want the high schoolers that are interested in this kind of in this world of gaming to really understand some of these fundamental concepts and how things are working in the background. I feel like many of the studios and things, there's a lot of magic going on when you show up to use Unity and you just accept that, and that's great because it's giving you this starting point where you don't have to reinvent the wheel. But this course, in a semester, shows you how a wheel is invented in the world of programming, and so they do come away with an understanding of many of these fundamental concepts, and so they do understand or hopefully understand at the end what magic is happening in the background in some of these more powerful platforms. And so, I do know that some of our grads from this program have gone on to some of the programs that y'all are conducting at the university and college level, and also, we've been working with the universities and colleges. Now our 2-year track for our high school program actually nets credit at some of your colleges. So we have this sort of dual enrollment arrangement now with the universities, and so we're hoping to see many of our students move on into studies with you all after they leave us from the high school program. So if anybody's interested in learning more about that program, they can get in touch with us at operationspark.org, or they can email highschool@operationspark.org. And I'll just add that it's great to see all of you on here again. Some of you were here last year, and I hope that we are able to do in-person stuff soon, and that all of us can get together in person and talk shop and share notes and play some games. So good to see you all.
My goodness, that is a great sentiment indeed. We almost had an in-person education summit this year. We had to kind of nip that at the end, unfortunately. Thanks, John. Appreciate it. So next up, let's go to AIE and Donald.
Sure thing. Let me see if I can get my screen shared. Cool. Is that coming through okay?
Looks good.
Cool. Yeah. Swap that. There we go. All right. So like I mentioned before, I work at AIE, or Academy of Interactive Entertainment. We're a specialist 2-year technical college where we focus on game development, teaching, film education, and working with industry and working with alumni to kind of make sure that we're teaching the right stuff. However, introductions, my name is Donald Grimion. I teach game art and animation at the school. My background is primarily in kind of research-based gaming, worked a bit in film. I kind of did a lot of things. Post-production on feature films like Secretariat, Harry Potter, worked on a couple of mobile game things, but a lot of research-based stuff, serious gaming, stuff for oil and gas field. But as far as the school, we are located in Lafayette, Louisiana. We're located in the Light Building, or the Big Giant Egg, but we also have campuses located in Seattle, Washington, and several in Australia. But what do we teach? The 3 tracks that you can choose from if you're interested in enrolling is game art and animation, 3D animation VFX for film, or game programming. For the art curriculum, though, between year 1 and between game art and VFX, it kind of gets rolled together in the first year, where you can kind of like split off going into the second year. So in year 1, you're learning a lot of fundamentals about learning software and fundamentals of just art and lighting and etc. So 3D art pipeline is just getting hands-on with using Maya, using Photoshop, using stuff like industry tools like Substance Painter, just to understand the pipeline better, to make real life images, or as true to life as we can, starting off. Then we get more in the creation, using a bit of ZBrush with modeling and texturing, trying to create just overall kind of game-ish ready environments, trying to understand just the general best practices for bringing your stuff and lighting it well within a real-time renderer, or offline renderer if you're in the VFX, such as like RenderMan or Arnold. Then we get into making stuff move with principles of animation. Learning the physics of things, making sure we not making stuff look too floaty, giving real physicality using the principles of animation established by Disney's 9 Old Men, back with the early movies like Snow White and Bambi, etc. Then we move a bit into a more complex subject, which is character pipeline, where we kind of encompass the entirety of character creation. That involves learning how to create concept art, designing your character, sculpting, modeling, and getting the nitty gritty of it, and not just making a nice looking statue, but making it usable for game engines. You've got to retopologize, you've got to good practices on UVing, good practices on texturing to make a stylized character by the end of this long subject. It's one of the more difficult ones, but it's very rewarding in that regard. Next, we move into digital lighting compositing. So how do we make stuff look good or look as true to life as we can? We get good lighting, we get good rendering. Whereas like the VFX side really focuses on integrating like real life objects in a background plate, like you see here with the headphones and the machine gun. The game artist will practice a bit more in working in Unity, working in best practices for lighting and optimizing lighting for real time at this stage in the game. Leading into, it's kind of skipping over character animation, but by the end of year one, artists and programmers are working together across multiple disciplines to come together and make a game within a shorter period of time, about 6 to 8 weeks total. So they're kind of given the prompt of, hey, you need to make a strictly an arcade style game with very specific rule sets, and kind of expand upon, building up the art assets to fit that vision within that attainable scope. So we give kind of space game, Space Invaders type thing versus more creative style notebook. The students are given a lot of free reign as long as they can, sell us on it. But on the flip side, in the VFX part of things, they're usually working on a client-based production. We try to find a local business that has a need for a commercial, some sort of commercial project. So like an escape room or a healing house, which helps grieving children, grieving families, or CYT, more theater group. Whenever we move into year two, that's whenever we get a lot more specialized between the different disciplines. So game artists especially will focus more on really hammering home the ideas of optimization, working as much in the game engine as possible. So game environments, they're understanding how to, at this point, they mess around a good bit with Unity. It's time to jump to Unreal and understand how to use that knowledge and moving into those the Unreal Engine, understanding those systems to really push for good lighting, good presentation, but also running at optimal speeds and learning more advanced material creation and everything else. Graphical user interface, you're learning how to design a little bit more of just user interface, panels, life bars, what works well for displaying information to the player is very important from a gameplay perspective. Then we get into game characters. As to not necessarily have a repeat from the first year, students are given a smaller task that they have to design something more attainable within a shorter period of time. I usually say it's like a minion or like a level 1 RPG enemy character. And then they can move into more of a specialization topic where they can kind of either further push their skills in modeling and texturing and has to, or they can work more in like 2D, they can work in 3D animation. It just has to be the context, and the point hammered home is has to work within a game engine, has to be presented in a game engine. It has to be useful in that regard. By the end of year two, or the second half of year two, is focused completely on their capstone project, which is major production. We try to encourage the students compared to the year one, they have a longer period of time, about 4 to 5 months, to develop the game with an expanded scope. where we try to encourage the students to focus, on core game design elements, work within their restrictions, work within limitations to make a really good project that they can present in their portfolios later whenever they're trying to apply for jobs. For VFX, though, in year 2, they're focused a lot on kind of final result, final rendering. So using offline rendering tools like Arnold, RenderMan, and using compositing, they use Nuke for a lot of their compositing. They get into visual effects, how to make explosions, how to in Houdini, those kind of tools. They move into specialization topics where they kind of cover, students can kind of pick their topic of choice to further pursue. This particular student wanted to pursue more character animation, really emphasize their skill set with that. Whoops, skipping over major production or short film production with year 2 VFX. Their story, going through story development, script writing, and trying to get a good handle on making a really nice capstone project by the end of this process, and also learning a good bit of like XGen for hair grooming, more advanced facial rigging, those kind of things that best fit what the students' goals are for that production. But very student driven in that regard. The online portfolio, we throughout the entirety of this, second year, we encourage and sit down and review with the students their current resumes. We take a look at their, portfolios, their art stations, make sure that they have some sort of online presence for whenever they try to make contacts with the industry. And speaking of industry, talking about software. So we teach a variety of software. We try to keep up to date with whatever kind of the newest as we can within a kind of year cycle, working with our industry panel to make sure that we are teaching the latest and greatest, and it's up to date. So Maya, Photoshop, ZBrush are going to be our core packages primarily, as well as presenting in like Marm said, Toolbag, editing in DaVinci, using a bit of Houdini, Nuke for compositing, and some more specialized stuff like Marvelous Designer is great for like cloth simulation. But Substance Painter, Substance Designer is all part of that like core package, as well as the game engines, Unity and Unreal. We teach a good bit of both throughout the curriculum. But trying to get a job, assuming that once you graduate, you want to try to find work and doing, what you love for a living. So we have students that have gone to work in game and app development, virtual reality and augmented reality, doing military simulation type work. We've had people do 3D printing, getting into that, architectural visualization, and film and television. For the programming, I apologize, I'm going to be an artist saying all these topics, but overall, you're kind of learning foundational skills of programming. It is kind of geared as and kind of sold as games, but you're learning foundational skills overall in programming, C#, C++, math for games, Python, JavaScript as far as I know. But you're learning the overall foundations, using code to, create systems to drive the overall gameplay mechanics. And, by the end of the first year, you're again working with artists on a small game project, arcade style, over the short period of time. But in year 2, get more specialized, work more and more into the games itself. Whereas year 1, you're kind of, have your, your handheld to make sure that you're not jumping too close into the engine too early on, before you can really dig into more of these complex game systems and working in physics for games and considering the performance impact of those kind of systems, because you can play with every tool under the sun, but it's got to be, optimal. But again, working on a capstone project for the end of the year, you'll work alongside with other programmers. So that's, and working with other artists. So learning how to work with each other, making sure that you don't step on each other's toes. I know that could be very difficult for multiple programmers working on the same project. but also learning a good bit of version control and those sort of systems. But the day-to-day experience for the school is it's treated like a part-time job. You have kind of 2.5 days that during the week that you're kind of divided up between lecture and live demos. And then majority of the rest of the time is dedicated to exercises or lab work supervised by an instructor within the same room. Typically, the instructor will be walking around, checking work, and giving feedback early and often as to avoid any kind of heartache if the student has to kind of redo work or kind of fix anything. But try to kind of reinforce a lot of these core topics and understanding of these tools. But that's it as far as my presentation goes. But if you are interested in enrolling, you can check out our website for more information, lafayette.aie.edu.
Right on. Thank you very much. All right, Donald. So moving on, we've got Delgado Community College, Claude Richard.
Awesome. Yeah, let me see if I can share my screen. All right. And let me get that full screen view. Sweet. Okay, hopefully everyone can see this. Hi guys. Again, I'm Claude from Delgado. I'm just going to talk a little bit about our game design program here at Delgado, what we offer, what you learn, and what you would leave with. So when I say what we offer, I'm talking mainly about the academic side of Delgado. What we offer is a 60 credit hour or 20 class Associate of Applied Science and Computer Information Technology with a concentration in game design. That is solely on the academic side, which is the traditional idea of college academic credit. I believe, if not already, potentially in the future, our workforce development side of Delgado will be offering or does offer some game design courses as well. And while those are non-credit courses over on that side, I do want to emphasize that we don't just shun them out, right? Students who do stuff over with them in the IT sphere, including game design or Photoshop, which is part of our program, are able to walk it back over to the academic side with just a bit of paperwork. As long as you've done your deliverables on that side, you can walk back over to the academic side and get some credit. So saying that, for anyone who is sitting here thinking, maybe I do want to go back to school in this area, but I'm not sure yet. Associate degree seems like a whole lot. You can take baby steps, small steps, even with workforce, and you're not going to be left out in the cold having to retake something over and over again. We try to walk stuff over. So that little spiel out the way. Again, back to the academic side though, we do have an Associate of Applied Science. And so what's involved in that? Students who are coming in to the Computer Information Technology Associate of Applied Science with concentration in game design have basically these three kind of groupings of courses. You got your concentration specific courses, which are all your game design courses, the ones that are super focused on game design. You also have a required core. Everyone in the IT program has to take these courses, whether you're game, web, programmer, information security, it doesn't matter, everyone takes it because we want to make sure you have a good foundational IT background. And then of course, everyone has to take general education requirements. So that's your English, your math, your social behavioral science, your humanities, and your natural science. But this order I have on the left-hand side is pretty much the order that we advise students take their classes in. We want to make sure that students are, hitting the ground running in game design as fast as possible for two reasons. One, we find that students tend to be happier when they're taking the courses that they truly care about. They don't get discouraged as quickly as opposed to someone being thrown directly into a math class and they hate math and oh God, it's math. No offense to anyone who likes math, never liked it. So instead of, discouraging them, we're like, no, do the classes you love. So we get you in those, get you the required core and have students save their gen eds at the end. Additionally, the gen eds are saved to the end because some students can test out of it, whether that's credit for prior learning, other schools, or just you want to take some CLEP exams and get out of it. So we try to make sure that students have options for whatever walk in life they have. But that's just the general outline, but what students actually learn. So beautiful little graphic. In the required core topics, all students have to learn HTML and CSS. All students have to learn Java. All students have to learn computer networking and basic security, right? And make sure that you understand how computers talk to each other, and make sure that no one's hacking your game. Make sure all students know basic IT and also agile project management, so students can understand how to work in teams together iteratively, as opposed to, I don't know, running off trying to do everything on their own and going insane. So everyone has to learn those. And then in the game design concentration, students then learn your 3ds Maya, 3ds Max 3D modeling software. I believe Blender is also introduced a little bit. Students also are introduced to Unity and Unreal Engine. And then students also have the option of taking C++, learning that language as well. Adobe Photoshop, Adobe Illustrator, and I believe now it's gone through our curriculum. Students also have the option of learning user experience and prototyping, so Adobe XD, so that, for the students who are more artistically inclined than coding inclined, they can go through that prototyping for app development or digital graphics as well. And these are just some screenshots from students' work. Might be able to actually pull these up. I think hers actually won't destroy my computer entirely if it'll pull up. But some of our students have made, one was a EC is like a little goblin game, a goblin trying to find his mad scientist creator, and that was all done in Unity. And then Forest Fighters is a 2D, I believe also done in Unity game, where it's just a little WAS controller and IJKL, I think, is the other controllers, and you have the two characters fight each other. So our students are making actual games to be able to play and also put out there and sell if they wanted to up on HIO. All right, so then what do students leave Delgado with besides a degree, hopefully, if all hours are completed? First off, it's fundamental principles of game design and development. So our program is very general, broad in terms of game design. Students, get the general outline of here's how you communicate your game, your vision in a game design document. Here is Unity, here is Unreal Engine, here are these 3D modeling softwares. And everyone just kind of gets a little taste, like a little charcuterie board sampler of these different areas, so that students can then determine, what do they want to specialize in down the line, whether it's going to a 4-year school, going to a more specialized technical college, or kind of going it out on their own, working jobs and kind of doing self-study. Whichever it is, we want to give them that basic foundation, and that's what they leave with. Second thing is hands-on experience. Students aren't just watching Udemy videos and going, that's really cool, and then never ever touching a program. Students are students are using the game design software, they're using the game engines. Students are building projects, getting their hands dirty with it. And then finally, a well-rounded IT background. I guess this is for all the parents out there who always go, what are you going to do with whatever your degree is? Especially parents who might be afraid of, you said video games. Oh no, because I know a lot of my friends and my family were all like, oh, you're doing art? Wow. You have an IT background, so you don't have to worry about, oh, my baby's gonna go run off to like California, or, oh, my baby's not gonna get a job. Everyone does leave with a well-rounded IT background, so even if you are still working on your portfolio the day you graduate, that's okay. You still have the background to go and get an entry-level IT job, so students aren't, kind of left to the wolves at the end of the day. Well, that's what students leave with from Delgado besides their degree. If you want to know more, feel free to reach out. That is the departmental email address. It is C min@dcc.edu. I check it, the department chair checks it, and whoever takes my place as advisor will be checking it as well. So if someone does have their eyes on the email address, it doesn't just go into a void. You can also learn more about our program at www.dcc.edu/go/itpro. If you forget the pro and you just put IT, you'll be taken to the workforce development side. They're all wonderful people, but I want you to check out our side. So yes, that is our page. And yeah, that is it for my presentation. Thank you guys.
Thank you very much, Claude. All right, next up, we've got Loyola University, New Orleans, Daniela Marks.
All right, let's see if I can share my screen.
We can see it.
Yeah, awesome. So hello, NOGD. Thank you, Chris, for inviting me. I'm excited to share with you the world of Loyola design. I only have 10 minutes. So I'm going to stay on my script. Like I said earlier, my name is Daniela Marks. I'm the Associate Director of the School of Communication and Design and the Chair of the Design Department at Loyola. I've been there 20 years trying to build and morph and grow the program as much as possible. In the School of Communication and Design, we have these separate degree programs: film, design, communication, advertising, journalism, public relations. And I'm obviously going to be focusing on the design part today. I like to show this video created by a senior in 2019, Pat Fleming. This was his interpretation of what design is. Hopefully my sound is my sound playing? No, no sound.
No.
Okay. Can I stop sharing and then share again? Is that possible?
Yeah.
I know, I didn't click it, sorry.
Okay.
You know. It's gotta be some hiccups, right? So now. We teach students to be creative problem solvers and storytellers, no matter what medium they wish to explore. So in the design department, we have 2 degree programs, a Bachelor of Design in Graphic Design and a Bachelor of Design in Interactive Design. The BD is a professional degree program rather than a BA. Students take 72 hours in the design field and 39 credit hours in the common curriculum. So all design majors take the first 2 years of foundation level design courses to get a taste of the different areas in design. We find that students really don't know, for the most part, when they come in, what they really want to do. So we kind of get them to explore all these different areas to get a better understanding of the design world. Students then choose a different direction in design and focus on these upper level courses. Students who choose graphic design can still take upper level UX courses as their electives and vice versa. These are some of the internships students have explored in the design field. And what better way to explain design than to show you images of design work from a few alumni? I think this is always important for students who are trying to go in that direction, or parents, wanting to know if they can get that job. I like to show off the alumni, and I've been there for a long time, so I'm still connected to all of them. So no matter what mediums they want to go into, print design, interactive, screen-based design, and animation or motion. So I'm starting with Ness Higson. He graduated in 1996 and has a studio in New Orleans and Amsterdam. He was recently the creative director for Squarespace, but has switched back to working in a studio. I'm going to show you some of his motion work. This is a reel from 2013, but it's still relevant today. This is a snippets of projects he's created in the past. So I'm going to play this and kind of maybe talk at the same time. You're going to see a wide range of work from big name advertisers to personal design projects. At Loyola, we embrace the digital and the analog, as you can see in Ness's work. There's some hand-drawn elements, screen prints, as well as digital designs. Ness has designed websites, published his own book, created titles for Netflix. Our students have interned with him, and many alumni collaborate with him today. You can also see that he's got an expert with video and editing. Right. Mitch Peony graduated in 2004 and opened his studio a few years later in New York. Last time we chatted, he was teaching type and motion in Switzerland while running his studio. I like to highlight this particular project to show you the power of learning in a Jesuit institution. Our mission in the design department aligns with the Jesuit mission of making the world a better place through design. He was asked by the United Nations to design the brand for the He for She campaign, which was a United Nations gender equality campaign to bring together humanity. You can see how he applied the brand to multiple platforms and where Emma Watson was a spokesperson. I'm just going to briefly show Mitch's website. Hopefully there's a link to it. Because his newest work is projecting type and motion on buildings and designs for large music concerts. I also really love how he has programmed his website. It's just animation that plays in a loop, and it shows off all his really awesome work. So I kind of just wanted to let this play for a minute. But as you can tell from these two people, there's a lot of focus on image, form, and the front end of design. Okay. Rendiri is proud to be from New Orleans, but she lives in New York. She posted her title recently as creative director and art director of Meta, which, you know, is Facebook's, I guess, new brand. Before recently taking this job, she was a freelance designer who had clients like Google and Disney and Microsoft. I share this project because it gives you a little idea of interactive design. This project is where she developed a look for Thrillist's new Snapchat Discover channel. So I just kind of, maybe you've seen it. It's just kind of something that she's created. It kind of shows a user experience. Samia Salim graduated from Loyola in 2004. She's worked at Microsoft. She was the UX project manager for Unity, and she's now the senior UX designer at Nike. Her parents were really nervous that she went into the design field, and she kind of, she fibbed to them saying that she was still doing computer science, and they were very upset to find out that she switched majors, but now she's very successful in Los Angeles, and the parents have come back to me, you know, thanking me for helping her find her way. Joe Fleming started his own studio after graduation, I think in 2010. His brother Pat is the one that made that video about what is design when he was in school. Joe does a lot of motion work, but he also works on assets for the game industry. I will show you his website, but specifically a project that he's worked on. So this is his website. And if you were to explore it, joemotion.tv, he does a lot of animation as well. But it was kind of interesting to see this work that he's created for this video game. And so since he does a lot of motion, I guess he was the one that kind of created this trailer and made this for them. It goes on and kind of shows assets and interface, and these are all important things into the game world. And there's different, as you know, there's different areas in the game design industry. Savannah worked at High Voltage. She's our most recent grad in 2019. She's worked at High Voltage Software, working on Fortnite, and now she's working at Raven Software. And she is working on the Call of Duty Warzone Pacific. She hasn't been able to update her website, but she said to look up COD Warzone trailer. Just going to share her website briefly to show some of the things that she's working on, going in different directions. She went to NOCA for visual art. She studied design at Loyola, and she's kind of merged those two things together to be doing different things in the game industry. So I think my 10 minutes is up. Please go to our website, loyoladesign.com, to look at more student work or what our alumni are doing, and feel free to email me with questions. Thank you.
Right on. Thank you so much, Daniela. All right, next up, we've got Louisiana State University's Mark Albanel.
Let me give this a shot and see if I can get her going. See, where's audio? Share sound there. Yep. So everyone's seeing the screen?
Looks good.
Right, perfect. All right, so my name's Mark Obenel again. So at Louisiana State University, we have a mixture of faculty who've worked as industry. So Ken and I are both what they call professionals and residents, so unaccredited instructors who shouldn't be here, who basically our background was working at the very beginning days in video game development, and Ken worked in film development. We'll get into a few minutes why that's a very interesting collision of industries of late in the past couple of years. So I've worked on multiple titles, starting on very simple 8-bit handheld machines and consoles, all the way to 34-bit, and now teaching on 64-bit systems. And Ken worked on the very first feature films at ILM in CGI. So he was around at the very, very beginning of the very first feature films that used computer graphics in feature film work, when they were still shooting on 35mm film for most of the time, most of the movies. So the program we run at LSU is called the Digital Media Arts and Engineering Program. It consists of a minor and a master's degree. The master's degree started in 2015. We had 24 graduates in the program. 46% of the graduates are female. And we have 9 students in the program this spring. We have students coming from Iran, China, Louisiana, Texas, California, Florida, Jersey, and DC. So we always have an interesting, eclectic group of international students, which is awesome. And we use lots of the same software that you've seen the other presenters talk about: Maya, ZBrush, Substance, Houdini, Unity, Unreal, GameMaker. We cover all aspects of game development, from programming, art, animation, effects, procedural work, and classic game development. So the program consists of a master's degree as well as a minor. So we have an undergraduate minor that's open to anyone in the university. So in any program can take the DMA ET minor or the DMART minor. These are 21 credit minors in digital media arts and engineering, where we cover topics covered in VFX, games, animation, and virtual production. So about a year ago, I got a call from LED saying, are you guys interested in doing virtual production? And my first question was, what the heck's virtual production? And they let me know and said, oh, that's where you use a game engine and it's a backdrop for a film set, like in The Mandalorian. And I went, what's The Mandalorian? I don't have Disney Plus. So I was like, okay. So we checked it out. And certainly enough, this is where a long history in the industry comes in as interesting. When I left Electronic Arts in 2003, we formed a company called Sanctuary, and we made episodes of Sanctuary using green screen and virtual production techniques. So we motion tracked a jib arm and rendered in Unity a set on a scene on a green screen shoot in 2007. So we did this probably a year and a half after Avatar was made. We were in the very, very early phases of, hey, we could use computer game technology. Now, this was for just a director's reference on set. This was not for final in-camera pixels. So in the summer, we applied for a grant. We got a $1.8 million budget over 5 years to do virtual production. So for us, it's going to be a 10-foot by 22-foot LED video wall. So we've got a studio. We've ordered the video wall. It's coming in 2 weeks. So in a couple of weeks, we should have this up and running. So it consists of 84 row BPV2 LED panels. So these are specialized LED panels for virtual production. So these are 20-inch by 20-inch square panels. They have a resolution of 176 by 176 pixels. So in a sense, they're very low res compared to our computer monitors. But what they aren't is not bright. They are 1,500 nits. If we have 84 of them, we've got probably like, what is that, 80? We've probably got 120,000 nits. To put that in perspective, your TV set at home is probably about 1,000 nits. So we've got a very, very bright, when we put white on that screen, it's going to be blindingly bright. So we can create some very visceral, very realistic scenes. Another interesting thing is these monitors are 12-bit, so 16-bit, sorry. So we're going to be running them at 12-bit initially, but they go up to 16-bit. So we can get full HDR images encompassing most of the visual color range to do some pretty interesting things. Another interesting thing about these monitors, they run at 7,680 hertz. So again, our typical computer monitor, 120 hertz, maybe your gaming monitor, 250 or something, 264. This is 7,680 hertz is the refresh rate of these monitors. That's how much they refresh a second. We just purchased a red Komodo camera. This is it in the studio. We've got it right now. The video wall should be, like I said, coming in a couple weeks. And this camera is kind of the best low-cost solution for filming a video wall. Its advantage is it's a global shutter, so it's exposing all the pixels in one opening of the shutter and closing it. It's not a rolling shutter like on an Arriflex or most film cameras, where you have to worry about the brightness shifts on your LED panels. So the global shutter, it makes the setup a lot easier. We're also encompassing the whole room with motion capture. So we're going to have 50 motion capture cameras around the room. So we only need probably about 8 of them to track the camera, because when you have a real camera, we're going to have a virtual camera in Unreal that is mimicking the real camera. But we will also have all the other cameras because we want to do virtual performances. We want to do some mocap and drive some virtual actors into the scene as well. So these are going to be all with new OptiTrack Prime X22 cameras to track motion capture of the camera. We've been working with an Unreal workflow. So we're looking at setting up all of the positions you would normally have on a film set, the DOP, the cameraman, the grips, the lighting, and then we've got a whole virtual department at the Brain Bar that runs the virtual displays. So we're going to have a Brain Bar with a really honking computer. We're getting a $15,000 Dell server with a special NVIDIA sync card. So it's like an RTX 8000 or something, and then a sync card so that it can be gen locked with all the TV sets, and the mocap cameras can all be gen locked so that everything times correctly. We get no tearing or artifacting in the images. So I'm going to show you what this looks like. We've got nothing done yet because we haven't even installed it yet. Right now, it's just an empty room with a whole bunch of boxes that we're going to be setting up over the next bit, but I can give you an example of here's where games and films just absolutely collide. So I'll give you a quick glimpse of what is happening in this space. think you get the idea. So essentially, we're seeing a game engine be used in live concert performance on LED screens. We're seeing it used in architectural visualization. One of our former teachers is working for a medical visualization company in Florida, and they've got an LED screen to demo clients, medical demos. It's just insane the number of uses that we're seeing these applied for. And it's kind of cool to see sort of like game technology and film technology completely coming together. Completely moves VFX from the post-production into the production phase. So instead of doing the visual effects after the movie is shot, you're kind of prepping all your effects before the movie is shot. and then shooting them in camera, in pixel on set. So it kind of restructures how the industry works and runs. Where we're located in the Digital Media Center, we have Electronic Arts on the 3rd floor. They have their test center on campus at LSU. And I'll show you some student work. So this is a project that was done by the graduating class last semester. So this was the first time they've ever made an animation, any of them. And this was done in Unreal. So we didn't render this in offline. We rendered this in Unreal. So I mentioned this was all running through Unreal. Oh yeah, sorry. This was running in Unreal. So this was not rendered in an offline render. They animated it in Maya, but rendered the entire thing in a game engine. So we're using some virtual production techniques even before we had the virtual production stage. We've been encouraging people to use the real-time tools. Of the final project we worked on. I also worked with the same class a semester beforehand, and we worked on a virtual trainer for the kinesiology group at LSU. So we did VR training for football receiving. So this is a VR simulation where we have a quarterback throwing a football, and we do things like make the football disappear and then reappear so they can't see it the whole site to make the receivers concentrate greater. So we're using some pretty old techniques in terms of how they used to train baseball players to become better hitters. And we're using those techniques they use in baseball in football for receiving. So essentially the ball disappears, then reappears as the person tries to catch it. And we throw it to random targets where the receiver runs a pattern. And this would be the review from the receiver. The ball disappears, and oh, all of a sudden it appears. So we sort of control how much they can see and not see the ball. So we've done projects that are like animation. We've done projects like this that are what I consider serious games. So this is not for entertainment. This is for research and training. And we do typical video games. So this is a level design, probably one of my favorite assignments done for a class by a student who had just an intuitively native sense of very Nintendo-y Mario-like design. So he designed all this level himself in about 2 weeks. So this is all just gray blocked. So using just basic shapes in Unreal, no modeling in Maya or anything like that. And programming all the interactions. So he programmed all of the flippers and rotating boxes and cutscenes. So it's me playing the game. I'm not great at it. So he had these flipping platforms. Every time you jumped, they would change direction. So you sort of have to figure out where they go in the future and sort of make these blind jumps on them. Again, someone you could tell had played a lot of Mario games. And I'm using a keyboard, so man, it's hard going up a circular staircase with a keyboard without a joystick. But I managed to do it eventually. And there's a lot of eye candy in this. There's a lot of that level that's not interactable. That's just there to give a nice sight line. And he programmed the bouncy material to bounce up. And then he went out and did cutscenes because he could. So you go in and you trigger these cutscenes, right? So you're still interacting with the character, but you're sort of in this area that's being transported from one part of the level to the other. And he gives off a nice camera showing off the level work. And then he's got really good escalation. This level gets harder and harder. I don't know if you noticed, you went over the end goal. So he showed you where you're supposed to go to in that fly through. So he did a bit of foreshadowing. And now this is the part of the level that gets hard. That first part was relatively straightforward. And then we start having some much more difficult jumps and moves. He's got more bouncy platforms. And then timing these rotating cubes was really hard. He also did a good job at overriding some of the default physics on their third-person character in Unreal is not really good for platformers. It's kind of more designed for third-person shooters. So you had to heavily tune the physics to get it to work in this so that it didn't feel awful how it felt sort of at the beginning. And it's got another cutscene, so he goes back in his little spaceship. And then goes to the end of the level. So just want to show a breadth of the student work that gets done in the program. Our grads kind of work all over the industry. We have grads working at Blizzard, Electronic Arts, Bungie, Microsoft, King Crow Studios, Pixel Dash, In Exile, High Voltage, Machine Metrics, LaSalle University, BRCC. So we've got students who are some doing education and teaching and a lot working in industry. One of the things we do a lot of is we partner with industry. So at the end of the month, we've got Electronic Arts doing portfolio reviews. So we're going to have a technical art. We're going to do 2 nights, one on the 31st and one on the 1st, where we're going to have a panel of artists and programmers do critiques of student work. So students are going to show up their portfolio and get critiqued by professionals so that hopefully they can make some changes and improvements before they graduate. And as was discussed earlier, we're hosting our 8th Global Game Jam in person. Hopefully, everything goes okay. So far, I'm told we can still do it. And it's going to be the 28th to 30th at Patrick Taylor Hall. So it's not in the Digital Media Center. It's going to be in the engineering building on campus. And you can register on the Global Game Jam website for it. It's a free event. We're not charging again this year. And if you want any more information about the program, you can email me at mobinel@lsu.edu or visit our website. So that's it for me.
Right on. Thank you so much, Mark. All right. And we've got University of New Orleans, Ben Samuel.
Okay, excellent. Let me dance the dance of sharing my screen. Beautiful. We got it? Thumbs up? Oh, okay, great. Hey, everyone. My name, again, is Ben Samuel. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you. And let me tell you a little bit about game design and development at the University of New Orleans. We've got a whole lot to talk about, but of course, the first thing I want to talk about is me. I'm Ben. I'm the head of the game dev program. I run the Light Lab, which is what we call the game lab, about games and HCI techniques and artificial intelligence at the University of New Orleans. My background, so I am, I'm trained in academia. I got my PhD at the University of California, Santa Cruz, where I trained under Michael Mateus and Nora Wardrop Fruin. If you've heard of or if you've played the game Facade, kind of the world's first like interactive drama. This is my academic father who made that game, and so that kind of informs my approach to games. I try to create things that are story driven and apply cutting edge artificial intelligence techniques. And there's two games that I'm kind of proud of, particularly in that regard. One is Prom Week. It was a game that incorporates social simulation, kind of a la The Sims, using an engine built by myself and my colleagues that leverages theory from social psychology, and in it you kind of control the lives of like a collection of high school students that themselves have their own volitions, they have their own desires, but you as the player kind of massaging the social state such that their own desires align with your gameplay goals. We're very proud of the fact that like there's a lot of different like choices that the players can make. Every single one of these little hard to see blue columns is a unique play trace. So out of hundreds of thousands of playthroughs, no two players have ever experienced the exact same story. And we're also very proud because it won and was nominated for a whole bunch of awards. In addition to Prom Week, the second game that I alluded to is this game, Bad News, because in addition to having an academic background in computer science, I also have a graduate degree and a background as a professional actor. And Bad News combines these two passions of mine, of computer science and simulation, but also live performance. It's an installation piece. It's been played all over the world. In the game, you explore a virtual town. You have conversations with these virtual citizens represented by a live actor, and kind of a Dwarf Fortress-esque manner, we procedurally generate that town of people unique for every single player. The information that all of the denizens of this town have gets transferred from person to person. They all have their own unique theory of mind, their own unique perception of reality, which may or may not be correct. In the game, we don't have to go too much into it, but someone has passed away and you as the player needs to deliver the eponymous bad news to their next of kin. And this game also won a lot of awards. It got featured at game venues, at art venues, at film festivals. It's kind of been seen all over the place in a bunch of different, spheres. And that's kind of like what I'm really excited about and how I've tried to structure the program at the University of New Orleans. Yes, games that are perhaps powered by AI systems, but more than that, games that are infused with this interdisciplinary spirit, that are equal parts technical and artistic achievement. And so that kind of drive for innovation, that's what I try to really instill within all of my students at UNO. But okay, enough about me. Let me tell you a little bit more about CS at UNO. So first and foremost, as has been mentioned by some of my fellow colleagues, fellow educators at the summit, at UNO, it's not just games that you learn. Here it would be a computer science degree. That's what it would say on your diploma. So you learn the fundamental building blocks of algorithmic thinking, moving on to data structures, assembly, networking, ethics of technology, operating systems, cybersecurity, all of these things and more. So when you graduate with a degree from UNO, many doors are open to you professionally. And here are some happy pictures of faculty and staff. You don't take my word for it. Look at those smiles. And at UNO, I'm very happy to say that we care very deeply about all of our students. We have many faculty. We have, this is Dr. Sam Hoyt, our student support specialist, whose whole job it is to just make sure that students are doing okay, that they understand what they need to be doing to both be successful in class, but then also successful once they graduate. And the training you receive in the program, again, it trains you for any computer science position, as evidenced by this bevy of stock photographs. What a joke. But the message is real, and again, has already been said by several other speakers today. I know at job fairs, at college fairs, I get a lot of parents who express concern about maybe over specializing, like, or if they only learn games, is that a bad thing? We've already explained many times why that's not a bad thing, but at UNO, you're learning all of these all of these skills, not just within games. And more specifically, in addition to the fundamental kind of core curriculum at UNO, there were 4 different concentrations: bioinformatics, cybersecurity, machine learning, AI, and of course game development, that students can choose to kind of add on to their curriculum if they so choose. And so game dev, of course, is the one that I'm here to talk with you about right now. So with all of these concentrations, as I just said, there's kind of still the core CS curriculum with added elective courses on top of that. The game dev concentration is students have to take at least, at minimum, 4 additional courses, choosing from a pool of classes within the concentration. These include computer graphics and mobile programming and artificial intelligence and full stack, web development. And I'll just take this as a moment to say another thing that UNO really prides itself on, something that we try to have, at least in the in the game concentration, is trying to teach not only rigorous and thorough technical skills, but soft skills as well. The people-centric ability that is so important for game designers who are creating interactive experiences that will ultimately be played by other players, people who are not themselves. So in like the mobile development class, for example, students have to identify stakeholders, identify a real world problem, and interview the stakeholders and people who might be using the app, and iterate and evolve the app over time. So that's all well and good, but all of these classes are, certainly related to, but somewhat peripheral to the act of actually developing games. In addition to this, there are 2 core classes in the concentration that all of the concentration students have to take: fundamentals of game dev and advanced game dev. In the in the fundamentals of game dev class, it's focusing kind of on 2 separate yet interconnected ideas, simultaneously learning some of those fundamental technical skills of production, but also reading, rules of play and developing a critical discourse around games, learning how to critique and analyzing existing games and to understand why they mean what they mean. In addition to learning just how to think about them in a deeper level to create new games that are both innovative and successful. In this class, students create 2 games, a 2D game and a 3D game, and we've just got kind of like a wall of memory lane. We've got, ninja platformer games, a game where you're a dog and you work on a training for a dog show, a wrestling game using Twine, and it's not just Twine, it's not just story games. Students use a wide variety of engines: Unity, Unreal, the Pico 8 Fantasy Console, Game Maker Studio, Godot, Torque, custom things that students just make on their own, everything in between. This was Falling Angel. Heaven is dying and you have to go into hell in order to collect hell essence and bring it back to make your angel town better. You're like a dimensional shifting dog. There's a lot of dog-based experiences. Don't be fooled. It's not rollerball. It's an incredibly handcrafted interactive marble experience, a game inspired by Watership Down, this incredible kind of like gravity ninja game where you're kind of like dodging obelisks and like all of the planets are rotating around the central star and you have to kind of like get to it. More kind of like space shooter games, like games with like AI, that kind of a Metal Gear Solid-esque like stealth thing. So in the fundamental class, I'm really proud of all of the work that the students have done. The advanced game dev class, this is cross-listed between the computer science department and the fine arts department. So my friend and colleague Dan Rule and myself teach that class, Dan, in the fine arts department. And this is, some photos. This is kind of outdated a little bit, but from a few years ago. In this class, students spend the entire semester making physical and digital prototypes of ideas that eventually lead to the conception of an actual playable, ideally polished experience. It begins with them iterating on just initial thoughts and having them give a green light pitch where they convince their fellow classmates and also Dan and myself that a team should be formed around their game. So there's a little bit of a competition aspect to it. Usually around 2 or 3 games get selected, students form teams around them, and then for the rest of the semester, programmers and artists alike are working together to turn that into an actual reality. And again, there's kind of a lot of just photos that I'm excited to share with you of student work. This is from, again, a couple years back, Gilded Pockets. And so while the students are working on these games, again, they're working on agile development techniques. They're breaking their games down into sprints, and they're also learning interdisciplinary like communication skills. Computer scientists learning how to speak with artists and vice versa. So here's, again, just some more like images of Gilded Pockets. In this game, you collect gold, and gold can be, you know, spent at the store, but it also like actually makes you heavier, and levels will be like affected by your weight, and there are certain things, certain puzzles that can only be solved based on, you know, how heavy you are or how light you are. Kindled Light was a Metroidvania style game, kind of, you know, inspired by Ori and the Blind Forest a little bit. We've got some concept art here. Tarot was kind of a rage quit game in the spirit of getting over it. It stands for teleporting arrow. You'd shoot an arrow and you would teleport to that spot. And there's no checkpoints, there's no saving. You're just trying to kind of like climb up this, you know, very vertical tower. And if your arrow, like, you know, it goes off the side, you start over at the beginning. Cat Noir is a game about a cat that loves detective shows and decides that they want to try becoming a detective of themselves and solving a gruesome murder mystery. Quadris is kind of a match 4-esque game with a twist. You're reconstituting like the fundamental atoms of the universe to eventually like create galaxies and then to create like life and evolution. Wormhole, this is from, you know, the most recent year now. You're on a ship, and every time that you die, like, it gets like a little more challenging. It's perhaps a little inspired by the Among Us craze. Rebound, you're a robot. All of your movement is based on like you know, shooting a gun and then ricocheting or rebounding off of that momentum. It's again a Metroidvania exploration style game. Rising Paths, this was a networked VR asymmetric collaborative experience. One player is a little guy, and the team made their own 3D modeling. The other the other player is a kind of a godlike entity, and the godlike entity is trying to adjust an obstacle course, essentially trying to like create a rising path, try to create a path so that the little guy is able to get to the end. One Spell was a game where, you're a low-level wizard in a high-level dungeon, and you only have enough magic points to cast one spell, and can you cast that one spell and then accrue some extra magic and chain it off so that you can, defeat all of these monsters. So it's kind of an action game / puzzle game. Trap Party is this competitive platformer where, in addition to trying to, just get to the end of the level, there's a bunch of traps that you can step on, like pressure plates that you can step on that make life difficult on the other side of the map, and the maps themselves are all beautifully symmetrical, kind of as foreshadowed by this really lovely logo of the game. And it's not just those classes, it's not just those concentrations. There's also a bunch of extracurricular and research opportunities for students at all levels, at the undergraduate, at the master's level, and at the PhD level. So we have a pretty, I say pretty vibrant. COVID has made everything much quieter, but we have weekly IGDA meetings, the International Game Developers Association, where students come and work both collaboratively and individually on their own game projects outside of the classroom. We also have the Tolmis Scholarship at UNO, which gives opportunities for undergraduate students to work alongside professors and get some hands-on experience doing some mentoring. This is Extol and Brittany, two students that worked with me. This is us working on a paper prototype. And then at Innovate UNO, you actually give like research presentations. This is Brittany giving a poster presentation, presenting again creative or scholarly work. That was a couple of years back. Just this last year, Norman Bennett, the president of the IGDA chapter here, created the Haunted Halls of UNO, a VR experience that transformed the computer science department into basically a haunted house. And where, you know, I'm very proud to say that he won Innovate UNO. He won the grand prize there. So our students are doing very good, not just within our area, but within the university as a whole. This is my PhD student, Daniel DeCurligand. He's doing a project in collaboration with LSU, but also with the University of Nantes in France, where we're creating a VR reconstruction of a 19th century Parisian theater. This is Dr. Farjana Aishida and her PhD student Rafat. They did work in HCI. We've got students doing work in social simulation systems and dialogue trees. We have students doing work in cybersecurity training with Serious Games. The recent Microsoft Game Camp that happened, UNO had a very large team that all worked together, featured here, plus some of our collective moms. The game involved a lot of, all of the monsters and heroes were constructed using modeling clay and then realized using photogrammetry. And then it's not just researching games and making games and studying games. We also just we founded our esports arena. So it's also about playing games. So it's not just the computer science department, but the University of New Orleans as a whole is very excited and passionate about nurturing a culture of game makers and players alike. It's all very thriving, I'm happy to say. And many of the places that other folks have graduated, people have graduated from here to graduates have gone on to work at In Exile, Activision Blizzard, Kinemagic, Striker VR, Pixel Dash, and others as well. And so, yeah, I think I'm way over time. I apologize. But if you have any other questions, you can, of course, feel free to reach out to me. I'm bsamuel@cs.uno.edu, or, of course, visit the Computer Science Department's website or our lab's website. Thank you all so very much. That's all for me.
Thank you, Ben. Appreciate it. Wow. You actually touched on something that I'm going to ask a question about of our panelists, but while I'm formulating that question and while other folks are formulating questions, I'm just going to give a bit of instruction here. So if anyone has questions for our panelists, you can put them in chat in Twitch, you can put them in chat on our YouTube channel, or you can put them in chat on our Discord server under, I'm checking the meetup space. So put them in there. But while you're typing away furiously to get your questions out there, Ben, you touched on esports, and that's great. I'd like to ask any of our other presenters if there are any plans for esports teams or joining esports leagues for any of their schools.
At LSU, we got a faculty call on hiring a esports faculty member. So we're going to hire a tenured position to teach esports at LSU. We have been talking to athletics. We have a very successful esports student club, but we'd like them to go varsity. So we'd like to take it to the next level and have athletics take it over and actually have them compete. Our teams have won national championships in Rocket League. That tends to be the game of choice for LSU. That's the one we've succeeded most at. But I know other universities like University of Lafayette have esports programs as well.
Nice, thanks, Mark. Anybody else? Cool. Yeah, kind of developments that are happening. It's kind of interesting to hear about that. I imagine it as well as an extension or almost a mirror of athletics programs at universities and post-secondary education institutions. What do we got for questions here? Let's see. We've got one from Grizz Cliz on our YouTube page, the channel there, and I guess it looks like it's for everyone. The question is, do you need a computer science master's degree to become a professor in game development or in game design? They're basically asking for, looks like a bit of advice on teaching in game design or in game development for anybody.
If you want to teach in post-secondary, you need a terminal degree. So I got away with it because I started making games before any university was teaching, probably 20 years before any university was teaching it. So, but I think today you would need a PhD to teach at post-secondary. For high school, you could probably get away with a bachelor's degree, right? Am I mistaken on that? Teaching K through 12?
Sounds about right.
Yeah, that sounds right. I mean, I'm at the community college level and I don't have a master's degree yet. And I'm teaching game design classes, but there is kind of that expectation like you will get it. So I kind of lucked into it, kind of like Mark, but so I'd say safely might want one.
Yeah, same deal here. I have a bachelor's, but teach at an associate level or associate degree track. So just with years of experience to kind of back it up.
Right on. Okay, I have a ton of questions. I can ask more. I guess for some of the folks who showed off some of the games that their students have developed and released into the wild, I guess what platforms? Maybe we'll go from. Actually, I had a question of John when he was talking about some of the games that his students have made. What would be the platform that your students are launching their games on, and how could we see those? John might be on a break. Maybe we'll go with Donald.
The platform, I think, with most of everybody, we have them host their games on itch.io. It's just the most convenient, free, and open platform for especially a lot of the indie game scene that we'll see a lot of. So
Mostly WebGL stuff on itch.io.
yeah, WebGL, yeah, standalone builds, Unity, Unreal, or GameMaker, pretty much anything that you see there. And it also gives students an opportunity to actually like put some work into the marketing of their game, kind of like making the storefront, making it presentable to the public and not just to themselves. So
Definitely an important part of the process. Does anyone have anything different? Are they seeing any congregates or anything else out there?
Nope, HIO is what we use.
I personally used Congregate back in the day, but not so much right now.
Yeah, get a smaller market share. Let's see. Anyone from NOGD have any questions?
You're gonna have to repeat it. I'm gonna Discord it to you.
Okay. Hold on. Ben's gonna Discord me the
Yeah.
question. So if there's another question you can ask.
Um,
Okay, great.
Oh, no, they asked that
let's
one
see.
Just kidding. Never mind. That's the same question that's asked already.
What did he ask?
About
Okay.
the computer science master.
I got another one for you.
Oh, we got another one. Sorry, we're professionals here.
We have so many channels for input.
Someone's currently a visiting professor with a PhD teaching game development, and they want to ask if there's any teaching-focused positions available at any of these institutions. And that was from Ash RV88.
I'm thrilled to say that UNO is currently in the act of hiring 2 new faculty members to join our game program. You mentioned, or the question asker specifically asked, teaching focus. I guess I should say this would be a tenure track position, so it would have a research component to it. But one of the things that I think is really wonderful about UNO is that as a department, it values research and teaching on roughly equal levels, which is not the case at every institution. So if there are some faculty members that kind of lean more on the research side and less on the teaching side, and there are other faculty members that are the inverse, that are kind of teachers first and researchers second, and they all find great success in the department. So yeah, if you are looking for gainful employment as a teacher of video games, and you have a PhD, like as Mark alluded to, a PhD would be required for this position. Please, shoot me an email, and I would love to answer any questions you might have about our program.
LSU has 2 positions being posted, one for virtual production and one for esports. So not exactly game development, but right in the wheelhouse. So yeah, we're looking for 1 faculty member to teach virtual production and 1 to teach esports, and these are tenured positions. So there is a research component, but it's with the School of Art. So your research does not have to be academic papers. It can actually be work. So you can create actual productions as opposed to having to write papers. So if you need any information, you can reach out to me and I can share those links when they're published. I think they're going up the next couple of days.
And I could say Delgado wise, where I don't have the background to be able to see what the hiring pipeline is, but I know we're always looking for people who at least want to come in through the adjunct sphere and into full-time positions. I know that, or at least I hear that there's still potentially a full-time in our hub available, but I don't see it yet on the position listing, so I can't tell you, yes, directly. But if you want to reach out to the department email, and I can get it to our chair and connect you with her, because she has more of the answers than I do on that sphere. Yeah.
Loyola is also hiring part-time people to come in and teach. You get more money if you have a terminal degree, but we also hire professionals to come in and show off of their world with the students as well. So feel free to contact me.
All right, y'all. We're gonna do the last call for Q&A here. Let's check our channels. All right. Well, looks like there are no other questions. All right. Wow, amazing. We nailed that one. Came in early. Looking great. Everybody's keeping to the time frame here. What an exciting night for education in Louisiana around game design and development. So much creativity too in all the presentations. Amazing. I mentioned this in the email, but again, I want to thank all of our presenters for taking part in our online education summit, as we're all working together to build a game development community here in Louisiana, in partnership, of course, with the New Orleans game developers. Thank you so much for taking the time. We all appreciate it. It's been great to see everybody, and I look forward to the amazing things that we're going to make together in the future. Thanks, y'all.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. This was wonderful.
Thank you. Hopefully next time we can do this in person. I'm tired of this
Agreed.
COVID
In
stuff.
person.
Oh,
Yeah,
Zoom
be awesome.
calls, man.
Thanks.